imagine you are here. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about wrestling, bang. And then we're going to talk about some more wrestling, and we're going to go here, bang. This has been one of the inside jokes that my family's been on a roll with over the last week. And you know what? I'm back, and so is the madness. Welcome to Wrestling with Egos, now a complete 3-man power trip. Maybe even a 3-man band, baby. Yes, I went.
No, we didn't go there, do we?
You know what? Fine. No, we're not a 3-man band. We're 3 count.
Oh my God.
Yes.
This is where we start off, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it. Let's go.
Hey, to quote the great philosophers of Shinedown, I created the sound of madness. Welcome to Wrestling with Egos. I'm Patrick, joined as I am each and every week by my boys, Brian and Isaac. Gentlemen, I have one very, very important question for you. To quote the late great philosopher Dusty Rhodes when he joined the NWO, did you miss me, baby?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because I have a multi-layered answer prepared for that question because as devoted viewers of Wrestling with Egos will note, we carried on in your absence, and we did 2 what I thought were very well-received shows. We took a deep dive on Judgment Day 2000 last week. We talked about the burning questions the week before. So in that regard, no, didn't miss you. I proved competent enough that we could get this show done and up and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yes, because so many things have happened over the past 2 weeks, and those, of course, are the 2 weeks you would choose to be gone. So this show is going to be replete with Patrick's takes on everything in the wrestling world. In fact, that should be the title of the episode. Patrick's takes on everything in the wrestling world. Done.
Brian,
yeah, we won't say anything. We'll just...
Isaac, time. Did that just happen? Did Brian Kriego literally just purposely fuel my ego?
Yes, because I crave the content. We all crave this content.
Well,
because things are happening, folks. And I said last week, there's a lot of things going on, but we're going to wait to talk about it. And today is the day that we rip this carcass to shreds.
We're going to blow it up, people. That's what we're going to do. We're going to blow
brothers and my sisters, you crave the content, and we will provide. And let's get to it right freaking now. So much has happened over the last couple of weeks. Thank you guys for joining us. Strap in. It's going to be fun tonight. Let's start with WWE. We're not screwing around tonight. We're going straight to WWE. 3 massive topics that we want to talk about. And then, yes, we're spending the rest of the night on AEW because, damn! First and foremost, let's talk. While I was recovering from a long drive and seeing family on Sunday night almost 2 weeks ago in a hotel in South Carolina, I'm watching on my phone as we watch Money in the Bank. Arguably my second favorite pay-per-view of the year behind the Rumble. And we had a surprise, and we had a thank you God they actually didn't screw this one up with our 2 Money in the Bank winners. I know you guys didn't discuss it, so obviously we all know Nikki ASH and Big E have the briefcases. Not 24 hours later, Nikki ASH cashes in on Charlotte, which I thought was a brilliant freaking move. Strike while the iron's hot on that one. And I love the fact Pat McAfee brought the stat up during the Women's Money in the Bank match. The cash-in percentage is 100%. Which, keep in mind, the cash-in percentage on the men's Money in the Bank was 100% until Cena had it.
Wait a minute.
Well, no.
Damian Sandow bonked before Cena did, didn't he?
Nope.
Oh, I refer. Okay, I rest. I'm sorry.
Cena did it first.
Okay.
Cena did it first, then Sandow screwed it up.
I'm not going to get another chance to say this, so I'll give a quick shout out and a quick aside to Pat McAfee. The dude is brilliant. The dude has found his role. Whether or not he gets back in the ring again, I don't care. But the man is just brilliant, and when you can get Michael Cole to say that you have revitalized his career,
yeah,
that's saying something. And there's a genuine, wonderful interplay between the two of them.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. I like Michael Cole now that he's paired up with McAfee. I think Corey Graves is a great color commentator, but Graves and Cole, they just happen to be the best at what they did in WWE, and that's why they were a team. But Pat McAfee compliments Michael
Yes.
Cole. First off, Brian, I have to disagree with you on one thing. When you're saying that Pat McAfee has found his place, Pat McAfee has had that place for years because you put a microphone in front of that man's face and you are going to get gold every time. Look, I like to think that from a communicating standpoint, from a conversation standpoint, I can hold my own with just about anybody. I am Pat McAfee's bitch. I mean, straight up, I bow at the feet of Pat McAfee. I mean, come on. This is a guy who completely ripped the Tennessee Titans on the second day of the draft when he goes to announce the pick for the Dolphins. I'm not going to say anything bad about the Tennessee Titans, but I will say that while I played for the Indianapolis Colts, we did not punt very much against the Tennessee Titans. Just let the greatness of Pat McAfee just wash over. And then that drunken promo that he cut on Adam Cole in that ring that he bought when he may or may not have been inebriated. Anyway, moving right along. I really liked the idea of putting the title on Nikki ASH, Nikki Cross, whatever you want to call her. Long time coming, one of the more underrated workers in WWE, and I love the gimmick that she's rolling with right now. It's like low key Hurricane.
Right.
And it's very inspirational, and it's Bo Dallas meets the Hurricane, and it works in my opinion. And there's not too much comedy there. She's being serious, and and they're using it as a role model kind of thing. I like it. And I love the fact that they used Charlotte as a transitional champion.
It's quite the come down for her. It's quite the come down for her.
I would never call it that because in my opinion, Charlotte Flair is in a tier in WWE women's wrestling history where she can do anything. And
well, then that's what I mean. I didn't mean it like that.
Right.
I mean, it's quite a different way of employing what she's got.
And you know what? At this point, it makes the most sense because ask yourself this: what else does she have to prove?
Nothing.
Charlotte may go down as the greatest women's wrestler in history. I mean, from bell to bell, in between the ropes, there's not many women that can hang with her. Isaac, you look like you're trying to disagree.
I keep thinking of the great Moolah and how long she held that title. Obviously, I see your point. I understand where you're going with it, but I would still like to see Moolah being able to go right now and see how that would go.
Moolah at her best still wasn't an athlete. Ashley Fleer is a freak athlete. she has always been that. And yeah, I'm using the real name of the woman as opposed to just her character because it's her athletic ability that makes her what she is. I do not subscribe to the belief that she is where she is because of who her dad is. That helped her get in the door. What made her the legit performer that she is in the ring is her own athleticism and her own commitment.
And I'm trying to rack my brain. Admittedly, I haven't seen much of Moolah beyond, the time she was around in the 80s and then the time she was around in the Attitude Era. But even then, like the 80s Moolah was all like breast holds and Irish whips and stuff like that. It wasn't.
The Fabulous Moolah was a female version of Harley Race.
Right. Which for that time period was perfectly fine.
But from an in-ring perspective, and that's what I'm getting at, no one touches Charlotte.
Right.
I mean,
and then I think of the two briefcases, I mean, the fact that you have two briefcases means you can let one simmer and you can move on one. And if you were going to move on one, it would need to be Nikki because it isn't a fully fleshed out character yet. Of the two, if you let both of them simmer, you'd forget that Nikki has the briefcase, unfortunately.
You would do to Nikki what they did to Otis last year.
Yes.
I
think they made the right call on both of them. And I was genuinely shocked when Nikki cashed in the following night, but I was genuinely happy for her because of all the work she's put in and how hard she's worked.
One thing, and then Isaac, I'll let you chime in before we talk Big E. The one thing I love the most about the entire package of the Women's Money in the Bank match, briefcase, cash in, everything, the finish. Everybody's on the top of the ladder, fighting to get a hand up to grab the briefcase, and Nikki just snuck her ass up there and just picked it.
Which usually doesn't happen.
No, I've never seen that happen. Everybody took their eye off the ball, and Nikki got it. And I was like, okay, that's brilliant. I mean, it didn't require a huge high spot. It didn't require someone going Jeff Hardy and bouncing from one ladder to another. It didn't require somebody taking one hellacious fall. It was just positioning. And I thought, simple yet stupid effective.
Mm-hmm. Strategy.
Exactly, because no one gave her a chance. No one was paying any attention to her, and it came back to bite them all on the ass. I loved it. Isaac, before we get to Big E, got anything?
You guys hit on a lot of points. I have to agree. I'm happy for Nikki. I'm happy that she finally is getting some shine. She deserves it. And I'm hoping to see what she gets to do with her title reign. SummerSlam's coming up. We'll see what happens.
Right. Speaking of briefcases, as we've already mentioned, Big E wins the Money in the Bank briefcase for the man. Damn. I think we're going to use the phrase wrestling fans would riot one more time tonight. Foreshadowing alert, by the way. But if Big E didn't win, I think the fans in Fort Worth probably would have gone riotous.
The only other guy besides Big E that you could have made a case for, and I don't know that it's a good case, but it's a case nonetheless, that could have won that match would have been Kevin Owens.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah, but Big E needed to be and here's why. That's your first pay-per-view back in front of fans. You gotta give them something. Don't get me wrong, they gave us something at the very end of the show, which was absolutely freaking huge, and we're gonna get to that here in a minute. But Big E winning the briefcase. Hello Nurse and the girls are already asleep in the hotel room. I'm laying in the bed watching it on my phone, and I had to stop myself from actually woohooing and waking someone up. Obviously,
Right.
been a woohoo, it would have been something else. But I had to force myself not to make a sound. So I'm screaming.
It would have been.
Say
It
what?
would have been hot diggity dog.
No. I'm whisper yelling at the phone. Hell yeah, yeah. Because I was that genuinely excited for Big E to have the briefcase. So let me ask you a question. Who's he cash in on?
Isaac, go ahead. I need to think about this.
I don't. So if you need to think, I can go.
Yeah, you go, because
All right. I'll tell you time, place, and exactly when. Vegas, SummerSlam, after Lashley beats Goldberg. No one is going to give a flying rat's ass about Bobby Lashley and Bill Goldberg. If you do say that you give a flying rat's ass about that match, I have one word for you: liar. It's going to be a typical Goldberg match. Goldberg will get a spear in. He may get a jackhammer. Lashley might kick out, provided Goldberg doesn't drop him on his head like he almost did The Undertaker and almost kill him.
Does it happen during the match or after the match?
It'll happen in the match. Lashley will beat Goldberg. He will either spear him or he will get him in the full Nelson, and Goldberg will pass out or tap out or whatever else. But Bobby will be wounded, and then Big E will pick the bones. Which
The only
then
reason I asked during is because we all know that, that we reference it a lot. The dream match.
The heist of the century.
Yeah, no. The interview that guy was doing with New Day, where they ask, dream match, and Big E rhapsodizes about Goldberg for 5 minutes.
Big meaty men slapping meat.
Yeah, big meaty men slapping meat. Like he'd make it a triple threat just so he could pin Goldberg.
Yeah. Or, I didn't really think of that. Maybe Goldberg beats Lashley, and then it's big meaty men slapping meat.
Yeah, I mean, either way would be fine.
Goldberg does to Lashley what he did to Lesnar. It's at Survivor Series. Smashes him in less than 2.5 minutes. And that could be cool. But I think time and place is Vegas SummerSlam, August 21st. I think it is. Who cares?
22nd.
Who cares? I was just kind of guessing at the date. I thought I was right. Whatever. But that's what I think it is. You guys got any other ideas?
That one makes the most sense. I mean, my idea would be to keep it until the fall, But then, that would require Survivor Series or TLC or something like that, and it doesn't have as much impact.
Right, and at the same time, that also requires WWE to play a long game, which they have clearly not been able to do over the last years. Forgetting the pre-global pandemic bastard.
And one would argue maybe they can't afford to right now either.
And we're going to talk about that.
We're going to talk about that later.
Foreshadow alert number dos. we need to keep track of these foreshadowing alerts tonight, boys.
You can put it on the board. Yes.
And make a White Sox reference tonight because apparently that's the only baseball team left in the city of Chicago. Because Brian,
Moving right along. Moving
because,
right. This isn't a baseball podcast. Moving
Oh,
right along. Just let's.
no, I am not.
Oh,
Isaac, stop. I am not ripping the Cubs. I was making a statement that apparently the Cubs have just sold the entire team to the rest of Major League Baseball because what the hell? Anyway, Brian, my condolences.
was there a fire sale in Chicago that I didn't know about?
Apparently so. Moving right along because you can already tell that Brian is getting ready to rain down hellfire and brimstone. I was just making the point to offer my condolences because that was some bullshit. Anyway, moving right.
I was late on the. I was late on the condolences, bruh. Late on the condolences. That did no.
Oh yeah, he looks like he's about to puke. Anyway, moving right along. So John Cena's back. That was the real end of Money in the Bank. Cena's back. We get the tease of Cena and Roman. Cena says that he wants Roman at Survivor Series, and Roman says, "Hey, ironically enough, said no in Cleveland." We were in Atlanta when that show was happening, and Mrs. Ramon and I were not thrilled about that. Why? Well, number one, it was a live wrestling show in Cleveland, so I would have wanted to be there. And number two, after Roman says no to Cena, Finn Balor comes out and challenges him. By the way, did we mention that Finn Balor is back on SmackDown? Not the guy that could be the demon Finn Balor. No. This guy, the Prince.
The real rock and roller.
Rock and roller is on SmackDown. Here's where we're going to get Patrick riled up a little bit. You've been warned, boys and girls.
And me a little bit too.
Yes. So what happened tonight on SmackDown? We're supposed to have a contract signing between Roman and Finn for SummerSlam. Yes, please. I'm all for this.
Lovebird and I were talking earlier today before we came on, and she said, "What are you guys going to talk about?" And we brought this up, and she goes, "Well, they've wrestled before, haven't they?" And I said, "Yes, but that's only sporadically."
Right.
And Finn owns clean victories over Roman, the most important of which got him into the Universal Championship match against Seth Rollins in 2016. So that's why there's history. That's why I was here for it, because as happy as I am to see John Cena back in the WWE for a time or two, I don't think you should throw him right into the title picture. It does a disservice to Roman, number one. It does a disservice to the other people that Cena could be working with. You could put Cena with anybody and make them better for having touched him. But instead, you just want to waltz him right into the title picture because, gosh, golly gee willikers, that's going to sell the T-shirts and the wristbands and the ball caps and the blah, 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 blah. I was here for Roman's line. It's like, when he's yawning in the ring while Cena's wrestling and talking about missionary position every single time, which knocked me over.
That was, yes.
But it's a crass way of saying what everybody's been saying for years. It's too predictable. It's the same thing every single time. And Joe Average Wrestling fan ain't here for it anymore.
Brian, may I?
Sure.
You bring up very, very good points. May I counter your point by saying that in this particular situation, despite what 95% of wrestling fans are probably thinking, 95% of wrestling fans probably think the exact same thing you did. My alternative to that is John Cena in this particular situation doesn't mean shit. John Cena is a name, a very big name, a name that has won the world title 16 times. And because of shenanigans that they scripted in tonight's SmackDown, it is now Cena and Roman at SummerSlam. And Roman has a 16-course meal set for him as the head of the table. They are feeding Roman Reigns a nice plate of John Cena. Why? Because, as I said before I went on vacation, the best sports entertainer in the entire world right now is Roman Reigns. And heel Roman has been the best thing we have had in WWE since the start of COVID. There's no arguing that. My honest opinion, this is the beginning of the slow play to WrestleMania next year when they feed The Rock to Roman. First off, I've never had a problem with Cena versus Roman. I think this elevates Roman to the nth degree as the premier heel in WWE. What I hate about it was you brought back Balor, he beats the piss out of Sami Zayn, then shows up and gets in Roman's face just to get beaten up at a contract signing by Baron freaking Corbin, who starting to look like a homeless bum 1 week after Baron Corbin took the tank missile to the nuts, which that was funny as hell. But you're gonna write Balor out of this angle that way, and then Cena shows up to sign the contract that's already signed by Roman. To quote a line from Deadpool 2, that's just lazy writing. It's not creative at all. It's lazy. We're gonna talk about some creative stuff in about 5 minutes, and I promise you, that's gonna be creative stuff. This was crap, Isaac.
Let's just be honest. The WWE hasn't been putting forth the effort that they need to be putting forth when it comes to writing, storytelling, and everything else that they're doing right now, with the exception of Roman Reigns. We'll sit there and leave it at that when it comes to that.
In other news, water is wet.
No kidding. My other point of it is just that, they're just trying to stumble. They're trying to stumble across the finish line and hoping that, Rock has made the statement that he's not coming back, even though we know that's just horse manure. We know Rock is going to show up at come WrestleMania. He's going to find the time. He's going to make sure that he puts Roman over because that's what he does. And then after that, we don't know who's going to take it off of Roman. Unless there's a injury, God forbid, to Roman, there's no other way that anyone's going to take it off of him, and no one's got the clout to do it right now. And that's the problem. I mean, his character is brilliant. We understand that. We get it. But, barring injury, the only other person that could take it off him would be the Fiend. And make it legit. That's the only way I look at it with that.
I think you could build up Balor if you treat him the same way you treated him in NXT. But then again, they're jobbing out Karrion Kross to Jeff Hardy on Raw. So I mean, God only knows. Brian, I know you've got some poignant and heated thoughts on this. So I'll tell you what, you close this out, and when you're done, we're changing channel.
I was excited when Balor came back and he had the feud with Sammy, even though it only lasted 2 weeks. I thought, okay, this would be a fine program for him while he works his way up into the title picture. I was even more excited when Balor thumped Sami Zayn at the beginning of SmackDown last week, and then came out later on in street clothes and stepped to Roman. I'm like, that's a baller play right there. And after Roman decided he didn't want anything to do with Cena and said, I'm intrigued, you have my attention, I thought, okay, let's roll with this. You could have a 2-month program with this. You know, Balor loses the SummerSlam, but by an eyelash. You know, take it into the fall, and that's your. I wasn't expecting Balor to be the one to dethrone Reigns. Not now; it's too early. But you're right. The credibility is a little bit suspect now. The way you write him out of the program. If it was going to be Cena all along, just give that to me. Let Balor do some other things to work his way into ring shape or do whatever you feel you need to do. And then Balor can be the one to step to him in September, step to him in October, whatever the case may be.
All right. So at the end of the day, and I'm not saying this in a way like I don't understand your point. I totally do. I'm trying to use this as a segue. So by teasing Balor and not delivering on that, you kind of get this lazy hodgepodge of an angle that now has Cena in the title picture instead of fleshing it out the way it could have easily been done. You mean like the way AEW has done with Kenny Omega and Hangman Page? Because boys and girls, if you have not watched this week's Dynamite, number one, stop watching this show right now. Pause. Two little bars going up and down. Pause. Go watch Dynamite, and then come back. Because from this point on to the end of the show, Dynamite is required viewing for tonight's show. Holy shitballs. If you want to talk about storytelling from a professional wrestling standpoint, AEW is not, I repeat, not killing it right now. They are owning it. Everything Brian, Isaac, just real quick, how many number of coherent storylines, not NXT, by the way, we completely glossed over the fact that Samoa Joe is now taking on Karrion Kross at Takeover. We completely missed that. Sorry, B. Because what I really wanted to do was make the joke that Brian had that we were 2/3 of a way from filling out a Brian Kriego bingo card here on the show, because we got a Balor reference, then a Joe reference, and all we all needed to do was make reference that Bayley was still injured. And then, hey, we got our bingo card.
Bingo.
Moving right along. Question: how many coherent?
Pick your door prices up on the way out. Jerks.
Storylines are going on in WWE right now? Coherent storylines.
2.
Isaac, agree?
2, maybe 3.
All right, 2, maybe 3. There were 4 freaking storylines that made complete damn perfect sense on one episode of freaking Dynamite just a couple of days ago. And it starts with the Elite versus the Dark Order and Hangman Page in that 10-man elimination tag. Great match, great build-up, even better video package to open that match to set up the Hangman and Dark Order entrance. That was sick. I loved it. I ended up going back and watching excuse me watching that multiple times Because just
There have been several points over the past month and a half since AEW has gone back to live shows where the intellectual savior of the wrestling masses has had to wipe tears out of his eyes. First, at Road Rager, when Jericho comes out and the theme song shuts off and the crowd continues for another 2 minutes singing Fozzy, I was crying then. And then this past week on Fight for the Fallen, Dark Order comes out, Hangman comes out in the center of them, and they all go like this, and I'm just like, even thinking of it now, I'm getting emotional.
yeah.
This is why we love wrestling, folks. It's not just a cute little tagline that we say on Wrestling with Egos. It's the God's honest truth.
Damn right.
And there were several other moments throughout the night that I was getting emotional because it's like finally a wrestling company is making me feel again.
Yes, yes, yes. 1,000. Yeah.
There are times here and there where WWE elicits emotion out of me. They're not doing it anywhere near consistently as it used to be, and AEW is doing it on a weekly basis, it seems.
Multiple times in one night. Multiple.
So, I mean,
So let's continue to flesh that out. Okay, so we can speculate where we're going with Hangman and Kenny now that Hangman and the Dark Order have lost. Obviously, AEW has not been shy about playing the long game at all, and we're going to get to more of that here in a little bit. Foreshadowing alert number 3. But just from a storytelling perspective, that match had everything. You could have put that match on last and it would have garnered the same reaction. There was a reason you couldn't put it on last, and we'll get to that in a little bit. That's not a foreshadowing alert. That's just we're putting that one off. But I agree with you. That video package leading up to Dark Order and Hangman's entrance, I got a little emotional in that because it talks of, the voiceover is talking about picking yourself up and getting back in the fight and relying on your friends, relying on your crew. And that hits close to home. That hits hella close to home. So yeah, for me, I was just like, yeah.
Isaac over there carrying the 3.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly. So that was really, really cool.
You know what I am sick of, though?
What?
So help me God, if Brandon Cutler comes out with another thing of cold spray, and just stop it. Just stay in the back for the next one.
I get it. That's it. It's heel 101. I mean, it's supposed to be annoying as shit.
It's down to heel 98 at this point. It's down to remedial heel work.
Yeah, but you know what? It still works. I mean, it's Bill Alfonso and ECW with the damn whistle. Yeah, the man who called it right down the middle. Dang. But I mean, before we move on to the next part and showing some love to someone that we truly love on this show, Isaac, any thoughts on that opener?
I loved it. I like this. I like where they're going with it. I like the long play of it. A lot of the times I just want to see let them go at it. But I understand and see the long game and where they're going with it and how they're going with it. And I'm really happy and I'm excited for it. They are doing some great things, which we will talk about. But the long game, I can see where it's at, and I can see where the end result's going to be. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
I just wonder at what point, and maybe we're about to spin our way into this, but I just wonder at what point you reach the point of diminishing returns if you keep delaying it and keep delaying it and keep delaying, because now you're about to put more roadblocks in front of Paige. I mean, at some point, I want to see. I really need to see the explosion that will happen when Paige beats Omega. And quite honestly, if I got to wait till Revolution in January, or if I got to wait till whatever they do in March, or whatever they do, I think I'm going to go postal on somebody.
Hey, B, I've been saying it, and I'm doubling down on it tonight. It's double or nothing. Double or nothing or bust.
When is double or nothing?
March.
It's a long way away.
Fine.
Bullet
Club is fine.
That's like
speaking of fine, speaking of everything is great, everything is awesome, and no, that's not a Lego movie reference. Right before I left, or actually, no, I think I might have already been gone. AEW made an announcement that had to deal with a brand new contract signing, and it simply said, Thunder Rosa is all elite. Yes. Our freaking girl. Excuse me. We talked on this show about how awesome she is. We have not only her in-ring work, but her as a person. Because as we discussed on the Halloween episode last year, that Thunder Rosa responded to RJ's daughter being dressed up as her for Halloween, and it exploded from there. And excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat, guys. I'm really sorry. But since then, I mean, obviously Isaac was not a part of the show at this time. It was me, Brian, and RJ. She proceeded to, one, follow all three of us on Twitter. Two, she's a subscriber to this stupid ass channel. The 40 of the 43 subscribers, she's one of them. And that's why we say hashtag friend of show. If there was ever a in-ring performer that deserved something like this, it's her. And then she makes her entrance at Dynamite. Ladies and gentlemen, that was called a Thunder Rosa pop.
So richly deserved. I mean, I can't think of another example of a woman, and I'm sure there's other ones out there, but she's basically made everything she's gotten from the ground up.
Yeah.
She runs her own federation in Texas, Mission Pro Wrestling. She trains there. And a lot of the women in AEW are either indirectly or directly tied to having come out of her wrestling academy. She is, always on Dark. She's always on Elevation, and she's always getting the wins. And when she shows up on Dynamite, it's in a high-profile spot, and she gets the job done. She has one of my front runners for match of the year already on St. Patrick's Day against Britt Baker. And in my opinion, she will be the one to take that title off of her whenever that happens, whether that happens at Revolution, whether it happens at Double or Nothing, whether it happens wherever. She's going to be the one. Denise Salcedo tweeted out earlier this year, or earlier this week, who, in your opinion, will be the one to take the title off of Dr. Britt Baker, DMD? I tweeted at her a picture of Thunder Rosa and the word done. She liked it, so thank you, Denise, for that. Yeah. But in my opinion, there's nobody else that's plausible at this point.
Here's my thing, and I'm not disputing what you said at all. Up until recently, she wasn't the answer to the question. And the reason she wasn't was because she wasn't under contract.
Right.
Still under contract with the NWA. And I would die on the hill to say that they would never put the title on her unless she was under exclusive contract with AEW. She is now, therefore she is the answer. In my opinion, there was not an answer to who was going to take the title off of Britt Baker because there's nobody in the women's division pre-Thunder Rosa becoming All Elite.
Selfishly, I wanted it to be Chris Statlander, but she's not at that point yet.
No, not even. Look, I like Statlander, but not even close.
It's not ready yet.
Nobody in AEW can, again, I'm making the statement pre-announcement. Nobody in AEW can touch Britt Baker right now. Post-announcement, Thunder Rosa totally can. And also, you know what that does? It allows Britt Baker to go back and do a more heel turn. And now she's the heel again, where she should be. And Thunder Rosa's the babyface.
I would argue she's never turned in the first place. I mean, yes, she gets the pop because, you know, she does the interviews with Tony Schiavone and stuff like that. And she was the de facto babyface against Nyla Rose, but she's still conniving. She's still using Rebel to do her dirty work for her. And there's rumors, not confirmed, because she had an interview this week at Fight for the Fallen that she's like, it's clear that Rebel can't handle the work, you know, because she's getting attacked all this time. I have to bring in some reinforcements. The rumors are that those reinforcements are two Aussies that we all know very well. I don't know what their real names are, but they were in WWE as the Iconics.
So they've trademarked a new name, and it has two I's at the beginning.
Yeah. So we'll see if that comes to fruition, but that's the scuttlebutt that I'm hearing.
Right. Oh my God, that'd be awesome because Cassie Lee is. I know Peyton, the artist formerly known as Peyton Royce, is using the name Cassie Lee. I don't know what
Billy Kay
is using.
I
but
thought
sure, bring them on. Let Thunder Rosa run over them a couple of times. That's fine.
I mean, essentially, what you can do is you can essentially turn them into what Benjamin and Haas were for Lesnar going into WrestleMania 19. God, that was a hell of a reference. But I love it. I love where we're going with this. Isaac, before we move on, you're up.
I believe that, you know, you're right. I have to agree with all the points that you made. Britt Baker is literally hot fire right now. She's white hot, and the only person that can take her down is at her level or even close, I want to say superior to the level of Britt Baker, is Thunder Rosa. And she's gonna bring it whenever she brings it. It's gonna be exciting to see, and I'm excited to see it when it happens.
Yeah, I hope they kind of play the long game on that one too. I hope they don't rush that one. So before we get to the labors of Jericho, we got to, which trust me, that's gonna be fun. There's some rumors that have been in the, as Brian would say, in the ether in AEW for the last several weeks. And quite honestly, I'm sick of said. And here's why. For the last 5 years, every 3-4 months or so, someone online is talking about CM Punk's coming back to the ring. He's going to go to this promotion. He's going to do this, and he's going to do this, and he's going to do this. And it never happened. Why? Because Phil Brooks has no intention of ever wrestling again. But we're still going to talk about it. We're still going to. Oh, he's going to be the Joker at the very first Double or Nothing. So instead of RJ going, oh my God, when it was Hangman, it was going to be, oh my God, when it was CM Punk. But guess what? It wasn't. That didn't happen. So when they did the very first All Out in Chicago, CM Punk was supposed to be there, and guess what? It didn't happen. It's to the point where it's now become the boy who cried wolf. And then Wednesday happened because they announced very important announcement concerning a live event that both Dynamite, All Out, and Rampage are going to be in Chicago, Illinois. Very cool. Awesome. Because there's been rumblings that not only have Bryan Danielson and CM Punk have both signed with AEW. Those are the rumblings. Those are the rumors. And there seems to be a whole lot of smoke and fire behind the Bryan Danielson one. I bring this up because last week, before Dynamite, in our group chat, RJ and I got into it because I made the whole boy who cried wolf reference. And like, I'm sick of seeing it. Call me when something happens. Media's talking about it now. It's not just fans. I'm like, I don't care. Call me when something happens. So they make this announcement that they're going to be in Chicago for 3 nights. And then they immediately cut to an interview with Darby Allin. I do not give a flying crap that he was standing next to Sting. Sting didn't matter in this. It's what Darby Allin said. AEW was the proving ground. And he's seen person after person coming in, coming out claiming to be great. AEW is the proving ground. Even if you think you're the best in
the world.
Holy shit, it's happening. Guaranteed. And here's why. And when I finish this topic, I'm shutting up and you guys can go. You have convinced me that this is happening. And I might be the last person, last wrestling fan on the planet that needed to be convinced because I wasn't buying it. There are tens, hundreds of thousands of wrestling fans that thought way before I did that this was actually going to happen in Chicago. And there you go. Brian's one of them. And that's fine. I wasn't buying it. But here's the thing. Now you've just used Punk's phrase talking about Chicago, and there's rumors that he has signed. You know how when Punk beat Cena at Money in the Bank, there was a sign that says, if Punk loses, we riot. And at Money in the Bank this year, there was a sign that says, if Cena shows up, we cheer. If Punk doesn't show up in Chicago for one of those AEW shows, Tony Khan will die. Cody Rhodes will die. Wrestling fans will go full-blown Attica on this if they do not pull this off. Because now you've convinced the fans that this is happening. And if it doesn't happen, even though you're not saying, oh, yes, this is going to happen, you're false advertising. You're building up a whole lot of hope just to go, no, we just wanted you to buy the pay-per-view. And I got to be honest, I don't have the remote anywhere near me. But if that were to happen, like, I'm done. Because I will feel like I've been lied to. And I've just been convinced of this within the last couple of days. Not like Brian or RJ or hell, probably 1,000 of you guys. So if it doesn't happen, at this point, okay, there's a rumor that it's going to be Bryan Danielson showing up when they're in New York at Arthur Ashe Stadium for the big Grand Slam show they're doing. Awesome. I don't give a flying hell about that right now. Get me to All Out. I need to see this. I need to see somebody in the ring cutting a promo only to be interrupted by the wonderful sounds of Vernon Reid playing an electric guitar to the song Cult of Personality. That's all I need to hear. You can even put in the beginning of it, and in the few moments that we have left, we want to talk right down to earth in a language that everyone here can easily understand. Give it to me. If you don't give it to me, I'm going to be pissed. Mini rant mode off.
I will take a slight issue with your characterization of the intellectual savior of the wrestling masses as being convinced all these years that CM Punk was going to show up somewhere. And I will change the adjective to being hopeful that CM Punk would show up from somewhere, because we all know he's one of the guys that I have watched for a long time. He's one of the guys that I have admired for a long time. I'm not going to get into all the reasons why. You know all the reasons why. He is a transformative superstar.
Yeah.
He changed the way the game was played from the moment he came in, because he goes about things a different way than most cats do in the wrestling business. He wants to understand all the nuances of it. If you don't believe me, check out The Best in the World. It's still on. I think it's still on the Peacock version of the WWE Network. If you go deep into the documentary archives, it's still there. He talks at length about how he became interested in how his show's produced, how it's timed out, how this happens, how that happens. And I'm salivating now. He doesn't have to go into the title picture, folks. I'm salivating at the feuds he could have. CM Punk versus Darby Allin is as juicy a steak as you could order at Ruth's Chris. Okay? CM Punk versus CM Punk versus Colt Cabana is a juicy steak. You could start there. In fact, that's probably what I would do if you're making me book CM Punk in AEW. Tell me, okay, he signed a 3-year deal with AEW. The first place I am going is CM Punk and Colt Cabana. Then do Darby Allin and let him work his way up. And yeah, sure, give him a run with the title after we've told the Omega Page story, because that deserves to be told.
Oh, God, yeah.
That's what I don't want necessarily. I don't want Bryan Danielson to show up and he's going to wrestle Omega. Yes, we know Kenny Omega is the best bout machine. Yes, we know that Kenny Omega and your boy could get in the ring and Kenny Omega could drag me to maybe a 3-star match. I'm not going to say 5-star, because let's be honest here. I'm not having a 5-star match with anybody. But I feel like the Omega part is too easy now, because we are exposed to Kenny Omega. We see his brilliance in the ring. We see, his brilliance as a heel and all that. And it's too easy to say Danielson versus Omega and Punk versus Omega and, the milkman around the corner versus Kenny Omega. And it's, it gets kind of boring after a while. But there's so many, a lot, like I said, there's other people in WWE that could benefit right now from working with Cena. There's so many people in AEW that could benefit from working with Punk and could benefit from working with Danielson and could learn a thing or two about telling a story, cutting a promo, what the look you need is and stuff like that. So I'm here for it. I want it to happen. And I'm just happy that it appears like it's going to happen. And that's all I'll say about it.
Isaac, before you jump in, let me throw out a couple of other ideas just for both Punk and Danielson. How about Danielson and Andrade? How about Punk and Jungle Boy? How about Punk or Danielson versus Christian Cage? I don't think we got either one of those in WWE. Last one. How about either one of them versus Lance Archer?
And I can't believe they're about to gloss over this. Nobody even said word one about this in the pre-show meeting. How about the fact that the ace of New Japan is challenging Lance Archer We get to see the ace of New Japan on AEW television.
Hiroshi effing Tanahashi.
Shout out to friend of show Todd for posting that on Facebook this week. Everybody's talking about Punk and Bryan. How about the ace of New Japan?
That's on a New Japan show, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's a New Japan show that they're doing in LA.
Right. The promo though was on AEW television. I'm like, what the hell is Hiroshi Tanahashi doing on my TV? Oh my god! You know,
arguably the greatest champion in the history of New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's won the title more times than anyone else.
And a bunch of Todd's friends are like, who is that? And I'm like, oh my god. Let's drop some knowledge on these fools.
Look, Todd has been a friend of mine for a very, very long time. Todd is a former colleague during the Audibly Offensive Radio days. Todd does not have very smart wrestling fan friends. He and his wife Kelly are very smart wrestling fans.
True story.
Todd's smart wrestling fans are Brian, myself, Mark Crocker, Chris Lemke, guys like that. Outside of that,
yeah. So I mean, I didn't want to gloss over that fact either, that we're going to get the ace of New Japan.
No, absolutely not. But you can, no joke, you could bring Punk and Danielson into AEW, and they could spend a year having quality feuds and quality matches without ever getting a world title match. Hello? How about Punk and Miro? You're welcome.
Dude.
God's favorite champion versus a God to box with God. It's that with
Bryan Danielson versus Pac or Pac, sorry. I mean, Bryan Danielson versus anybody in the Death Triangle. 3-on-1. Let's go.
Or you could put anybody versus in Death Triangle versus either one of them.
I would love to see Punk and Ray Phoenix.
Wait,
oh God.
One more, and Isaac, you can go after this one. How about Lucha Bros versus both of them? How about the Bucks versus Punk and Danielson?
I would love to see them knock down a peg or two, to be honest with you.
First off, you put the Bucks in there with Punk and Danielson. Look, I know there are a lot of people affiliated with our show that love the Bucks. Okay. But yeah, they're not in the same class with those two guys. But you know what? It would be a hell of a show. Isaac, your thoughts before we move into the labors of Jericho?
I agree with all your points. I am excited to see if Punk actually shows up. Am I hoping? Am I crossing both fingers and all toes? Yes, I am. I'm excited to see where they're going with it. AEW has so many potential people that those two guys can work with and elevate the show on so many levels.
If they don't produce Punk, this is going to be ugly. If they don't produce Punk, damn.
I have one more while I'm thinking about it. Malachi Black versus CM Punk. Yeah.
No. You know why? Let me ask you a question, Isaac. Of the two, which sounds worse? Being kicked by Punk or being kicked by Danielson?
Neither one of them sound very appealing.
Which sounds worse?
Danielson.
Give me Malachi Black and Danielson.
They both are gonna kick you high and tight.
But as you guys put up all these wild card scenarios are out there, that's something that we want to see. That's something that's what we'll all sit here and say, shut up and take my money.
Now, mother effer, we haven't even talked about the fact that next week we're getting Malachi Black and Cody.
Which is gonna be
we got, like I said, we got enough stuff to sit here and digest. We really do.
I mean, my God in heaven. And before we get into this, I just have to throw up in my mouth a little bit the fact that they put the FTW title on Ricky God-awful Starks. Ah!
okay. Moving right along.
Next,
I want to set this one up because I have a theory now about what they're doing here with Jericho.
Okay, I'm interested.
So we have these 5 labors of Jericho.
Yes.
First one was against Shawn Spears. Spears could use a chair, Jericho couldn't.
Right.
Okay, fine. Jericho won. The next one was against Nick Gage, and that match.
Nick effing.
Yes.
You got to get it right.
This match made me very, very, very uncomfortable to watch, and you had to figure it would, given
you think?
Given the kind of fare that I usually consume.
Bro, be uncomfortable.
Yeah. And okay, fine, he wins that one. But what I can see is happening here is each match is becoming more and more physically rigorous to get through. Next week, he's got to face the Juice, Juventud Guerrera, and he's got to win by hitting a maneuver off the top rope. It has dawned on me that given I keep forgetting Jericho is 51 years old.
Right.
Do you agree with me or disagree that this is basically a retirement angle for Jericho?
No.
Because what I think is going to happen is Jericho will get through these 5 labors. My God, what are the 4th and the 5th going to be? He'll get to the match with MJF wherever it happens, and then MJF is the one that finally beats him and says, okay, the stipulation for this match is you lose, you're done. I could see that happening. And here's why. I feel like Jericho, unfortunately, has reached that point that I argue that Jeff Hardy has reached, too, the point of diminishing returns. He's still got a lot to give storyline-wise and a lot to give with the Inner Circle and things like that, but it's becoming obvious that he probably does need to step aside and let the young blood of AEW have at it. You know, Sammy Guevara, for example, Jake Hager, for example. You know, that's just kind of where I see this going. You know, and you guys can go ahead and disagree with me if you want, but this is they're painting a picture of the end game is fine. You get your match with me, but it's a retirement match like it was Shawn and Rick at WrestleMania 24. You know, give Jericho one last moment in the sun, you know, and then he retires to a backstage role or a manager role or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Oh, good. He agrees with me. Great.
Yeah, Jenny agrees with you.
Yes. That's one.
I didn't really think that, but you know what? That's actually brilliant. And I'm looking at it from a different perspective as I have a cat's ass right in my ear. Jenny, for the love of Pete.
Unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. Anyway, moving right along. There we go. I don't have to look at a cat butthole.
There are standards and practices on this show.
got a family. Anyway, ignoring the fact of everything you brought up about Jericho and his age and diminishing returns, ignore that. What does it do for MJF?
Yeah.
Which further validates a statement I've made on this show a couple of times, a theory of mine, that Hangman is the one to beat Kenny. And MJF is the one to beat Hangman. This puts those pieces in motion. I agree with you as well. I am scared to death to find out what 4 and 5 are, because 2 and 3 have been what in the hell have been.
And kudos to MJF, by the way he set this third one up, because he's like, you don't think I listened to you? You don't think? And he tosses that, that promo from whenever it was, January or last December, whatever it was. I guess your parents got all excited when I was beating up Juventud Guerrera back in 1996, and you popped out. It's funny you should mention that, Chris, because I do pay attention. And your third labor is going to be the juice. And I'm like, oh okay, because he's another name I remember, from back then.
Real quick, rewind. You missed something. Another reason that absolutely guaranteed CM Punk is going to show up. Chris, while you're lying there, in as much pain as possible,
that wasn't lost on me either. RJ and I were going back and forth about that too. He sent me that clip, and I'm like, that wasn't lost on me.
Nope. Deliberate, as it is deliberately placed as the curtain behind me, as the rock poster behind Brian, and as the painting above Isaac's head. Deliberately.
Oh, this is just, you don't need to read anything into that. It's just hanging there. It's just a poster,
No, this is deliberate. This is me. That's all I'm saying.
Right. So, yeah. I gotta look. I am not a fan of deathmatch wrestling. I don't like it. As Austin Powers would say, it's not my bag, baby. But the way they use that to tell the story, and also the way that AEW pissed off one of their advertisers.
The dumbest thing ever.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah, you're literally going to use a pizza cutter to slice Jericho's head open, and then we're going to go to picture-in-picture, and the first commercial that we see is for Domino's. What the shit? If you want to look all-time bonehead plays. That one's Ray Finkel right there, dude. Lace it out, Dan. But I am very curious to see what 4 and 5 will be, because
do they go more brutal? Do they go more technical? I don't know.
I think more creative.
Yeah.
I think 4 is going to be something kind of very nuanced. Like, you have to beat so-and-so in X amount of time. Or
what if 5 is a gauntlet match against the Inner Circle? Danger, Will Robinson. you gotta go through. I mean, start with Hager, then Proud and Powerful, and then end with Guevara.
Oh, here's the thing, though. That wouldn't necessarily work, and here's why. Because the Inner Circle is banned from even showing up and being visible at any of these matches. And if it's a gauntlet match against the Inner Circle, every one of them will lay down.
True. You'll have a Kevin Nash, Scott Hall incident where they'll lay down for each other, like they did when they were in a Tornado Tag match back in day, and they're like, "Oh, now you guys gotta go at each other." Like, okay, I'll lay down. Next thing you know, that's
Right.
exactly what they would do.
Now, I do see the idea of it being a gauntlet match against the rest of the Pinnacle.
Yeah.
Another crack at Spears, and then both guys from FTR, provided that Cash Wheeler's cut on his arm isn't too
Worse
serious.
than a cut.
Yeah.
I don't know what I saw the other night, but that didn't look good.
No,
That looked bad, and then they ended it real quick because they were really scared.
yeah. Even Dax Harwood had commented on Twitter. I think it was this morning that he was kind of blasting a lot of wrestling journalists for DMing him about Wheeler's condition. He was like, I almost watched my best friend bleed out. F you.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
I'll report something when there's something to report. Stop asking me.
right. I'm really curious to see what they're doing, but let's kind of circle back. We've talked about the Dark Order versus the Elite. We've talked about the labors of Jericho. We've talked about this idea of CM Punk. These are three very well told stories all in one show in 2 hours. We have three good stories in all of WWE, and that is 7 hours of programming a week. Forget any story that's being told in AEW on Dark or Elevation. I'm only talking about Dynamite. It's a more packed show. It is a deeper show. And there's no doubt in my mind right now who's providing the best content, because they're telling the best stories. And yeah, I love what happens inside the ring, but tell me a good story. So, man.
Well, really quickly, NXT told you another awesome story this week too. And I'm not even talking about Joe and Cross. I don't even think that's where I'm going with it. But somebody else that I carry a torch for a long time has been Dakota Kai. And Dakota Kai chose this week as the time to pounce on Raquel Gonzalez. And I feel like it's past high time that Dakota Kai had a run with the NXT Women's Championship.
As long as I'm by your side, you'll never lose the NXT Women's Championship. Kick.
I was like,
it was beautiful. You know what was even better? Did you see the tweet later that evening or the next day from Tommaso Ciampa?
I missed that.
I forget what he said.
No, he didn't say anything. It was a picture from his daughter's birthday party. A picture of him holding the baby next to Dakota Kai. A picture of two people who have turned on their partners.
Yes, I did. I remember that. Yeah.
I'm like, that's beautiful.
So, and I'll give you my theory really quick as we're wrapping it up here. I said, I forget whether it was 2 weeks ago, Isaac, or last week, that I said I had a potentially unpopular take on Karrion Kross, and here goes. My opinion, he has been the worst presented NXT champion ever. Every time I turn around, he's getting run down by somebody. He's getting run down by Balor on the mic. He's getting run down by William Regal. He's getting run down now by Samoa Joe. And as Patrick mentioned before, he comes up to have some main event matches and, loses to Jeff Hardy and stuff like that. But I personally don't buy him as a champion. They want him so much to be this ass kicker And outside of the 2 matches with Balor, where Balor just did not get, he got precisely this much offense in before he took the time off, had a kid, I think, and then got the call up to SmackDown recently. Cross just does not do anything for me as an NXT champion.
He has.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
Let me jump in real quick, and this is what I want to say something since you brought up Karrion Kross. When you brought up Cross, as we all both know, that I've been a big supporter of our boy Keith Lee, and I was very happy to see that he came back. The fact that he got squashed 2 weeks in a row and it made him look like horrible crap. I'm still not buying that because he's one of the greatest performers that they have right now, and they're not using him correctly. I wanted to put that out there.
All right.
Go ahead.
There's something to Keith Lee. He made a statement on Twitter a couple of weeks, very recently, that he's decided he's going to tell his story himself. Give him a couple of weeks. Something's up with Keith Lee. So any kind of, I don't like the way they're booking him right now, I don't like what they're doing, I say give that a couple of weeks till we find out what's really going on, because something, to quote Shakespeare, something is rotten in the state of Denmark. So give that one some time to breathe. So, okay, here we go. Wrong answers only, guys.
Oh, hell no.
What's the fourth labor? What's the fourth labor, and who is it?
Brian Payne's match. Sable versus Tori Wilson, along with him, or with Jericho.
All right.
A spelling bee against Dean Douglas.
Blindfold match against Rick Martel.
Oh, jeez. Judy Bagwell on a forklift. Why not? Let's go. Let's.
Pennies on a
no
pole
reason other than. Don't say it.
Say what?
Don't you dare say
What?
King of the Road match.
Nope. Worse. Kennel from Hell, baby. Kennel from Hell, because what better, for one simple reason, I want to hear MJF's comments on guest commentary when the cameras catch 2 Rottweilers.
Tony Khan wanted ratings. Here we go.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Wrong answer. Hey, guys, wrong answers only in the comments. What's the fourth labor? Who's it against? Best submission gets a Wrestling with Egos t-shirt whenever we decide to make them. If we ever decide to make them.
Oh my gosh.
Guys, fun show. A lot of stuff to talk about.
We covered a lot of ground there.
And you know what? We were supposed to do something tonight, but there was way too much to talk about. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Brian Kriego, but before I left,
Yes.
you laid claim to a number 1 contenders match.
Yes.
So unless something completely batshit crazy happens next week, how about we settle this?
Okay. As I previously said, I have the categories ready. Just got to do a little tweaking, fine tuning. I can definitely do that during the week.
I thought you were my number one contender. I thought,
No.
I'm sorry.
That was the Don.
I thought I thought
I won by smidge. And if you guys don't remember, it was
Roll the tape.
It was who was the NWA NWO members.
right.
That was me. I barely beat the intellectual savior.
Okay.
Very barely.
I remember. I do remember that now because we went to sudden death because you both got one wrong. I'm like, okay, we're gonna go back and forth. First person to get one right. That's right.
Because we named far more members than you thought we would name, especially me, named far more members than you thought I would name, and we were down to like the dregs of the barrel because we forgot that Dusty Rose was part of it, and we forgot that, you know.
Right.
Yeah, we went to the bottom of the barrel.
Yes.
Literally.
We almost cleared that category out, which would have been freaking hilarious. So all right. So
And I graciously conceded because I surprised myself, and there are no hard feelings.
yeah, you handled your business well, my son. So, Mr. Smith, I guess I will see you next weekend on the field of battle.
Yeah, you'll see me. I'm wearing the perfect shirt. If you guys cannot see the shirt I'm wearing,
Nice.
yeah, this is what I'm gonna be doing. Arrive, raise hell, lead. That's what I gotta do.
Well,
So I'm ready.
I am wearing a t-shirt of a brand of wine because once I whoop that ass, I'm popping a bottle.
I'm gonna be whooping that ass while I'm here. I ain't worried about you right now. I ain't even worried about you.
Popping bottles. Job description: man, myth, legend, and sometimes demigod.
None of the above.
Why do I show up every week? Why? What is?
Because of the wonderful things he does.
Lord.
Because you love me. Because I'm your best friend. And without me, Brian, your life is boring. Actually, no, your life is not boring without me. Without me, your life isn't as random as it is.
There's many ways to find randomness in life. Why do I pick this one? Why I still?
Because it's entertaining. Because deep down inside, Mr. Kriego, you enjoy the ego. You enjoy basking in the brilliance that is Tetum.
Yeah, just go ahead and put your head down because that's I don't even want to respond. No need. Don't do it. Don't torture yourself.
This weekend forever, I am and always will be the ego that ate Manhattan. Next week, I will be the ego that ate Big Isaac. I am the Leviathan of this channel. I am the all-consuming Galactus.
Okay, eater of worlds. Just remember, did beat Goliath. That's all I can say.
I'm shorter than you, so we can also make that reference that I can still be David and beat your tall ass.
Okay, I feel like we're getting
We
too
all know
far.
that ain't
So let me bring
happening.
it back in. Let me bring everybody back on message and thank the wonderful people out there in Wrestling with Ego's Land for bearing with us for all this time and through all of this rhapsodic tripe that we just sat through. And
You missed me and you know it. You
yeah.
missed me and you know it, man.
I will remind everybody to check out the podcast archive, bit.ly/withegos. Like us on Facebook. Check out the Wrestling with Egos page on Facebook. I keep forgetting to plug it. I'm very sorry about that. Hit us up on Twitter at bkrego15, at rant mode on, at I the fourth. And make sure you liked, subscribed, and shared on YouTube. Tell your friends. Spread the word. lot going on. We will do our best to keep you posted on what all is going on.
So that being said, for all of us, we bid you a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the week that is to come for wrestling. Enjoy the carnage of the great battle that will take place next week, providing nothing crazy go nuts happens in wrestling. And until then, thank you for watching Wrestling with Egos, because this is why we love wrestling. And I'm gonna whoop yo. There are three things in this world I love, and I'm ripping off Dax Harwood on this one. There are three things in this world I love: God, my children, and professional wrestling. So next weekend, I'm gonna say prayers, I'm gonna kiss my babies, and I'm gonna show up on this channel and beat your ass.
Moving on from that load of crap that you actually don't believe, and I know you don't believe it. Let him keep talking, because sometimes you just gotta punch somebody straight in the face, and we know that's what we gotta do. It's all good. Don't worry. He's gonna have a couple shiners, both eyes, chin checked. We're gonna sit here and pull Shawn Michaels. We'll do whatever we gotta do. It's all good. Don't worry. He'll be out cold talking. No, I thought I had him, but that's what we're gonna do. That's what it's gonna be.
No,
And that's the bottom line.
Okay. First off,
that's the bottom line. That's all we're gonna do.
If you're gonna come at me, big fella, you better come at me with your own material and not ripping off somebody else. Because guess what? The ego that ain't Manhattan doesn't need to copy anybody else. Because guess what? I'm not a businessman. I'm a business. And this is why we love wrestling. We'll see you next week.
Don't even believe that crap.
Brian, you love it.
Don't even believe that crap.
You love it. You just say it one time. You love it. You love it.
Haters are gonna hate.
All right.
What are we doing?
All right, Taylor.
It's on. Next week, people. Watch Chin Check Time.